I'm so excited to have with us on the show today Tighe, who is the creator of the Catholic Hipster and one of the coolest and hip Catholic people on the internets right now, if you ask me. Tommy, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thanks, Rachel, and thanks for being too kind.
So tell me a little bit about what you've got going on the internet right now.
Oh, sure. I just kind of randomly started up a Twitter account because I didn't know what Twitter was, and kind of found that there's a lot of Catholics on social media, which is something that I never really knew, and Catholics with a great sense of humor. So it was kind of a natural fit just to jump in there and start making jokes about our faith and just the crazy life that is trying to really be Catholic in our culture. So started up a little website and kind of started connecting with people, and I've just been having fun ever since.
Well, I'm very pleased and honored that I got named the hip, what was I, the Catholic hip person of the week?
Ultimate hipster of the week. That's true.
It was a proud moment for me, and I made sure that all my teenage boys saw that, and I think that I raised up like a half notch in their eyes with that. So thank you so much for giving me that honor. It meant a lot.
A half notch with teenagers is pretty good.
That's a lot. If I could give an award, I would give you best use of a Simpsons GIF on the internet to talk about the Catholic faith. You do a great job with that on a pretty regular basis. Why do you think it's so important that we need to be hip, or to acknowledge that Catholics can be hip?
You know, I think that part of this like hipster culture that has come out is sort of this countercultural thing where it's like everyone steps back. We like make our own food from scratch. We go to the farmer's market. We do all these things that are like not typically mainstream. And I think being really Catholic is the ultimate countercultural lifestyle that anybody can have, right? It's like natural family planning. It's like believing all these different things than the culture does and really kind of living an authentically Catholic life. And I think that's just the ultimate hipster lifestyle, is the things that we do.
Yeah, so just being ourselves. And do you think that evangelizes people? Do we need to be aware or concerned about that?
I think it really does. I mean, I think that we can relate to people on the level of, you know, just everyday folks, and kind of making jokes about it and making light of things really helps to bring people's guard down so that we can start to evangelize too.
Yeah, so you have a 2-minute podcast called The Chimney, which I personally love because that's like just the amount of time that I tend to have these days. You give out awards called Turds and Tulips. Tell us a little bit about that.
That's true. Turds and Tulips is just a little segment where we talk about people who maybe have been bugging us and people who we really want to point out. So the Tulips is just to kind of share the love and get people to know folks that maybe aren't so widespread out on the internet. And the Turds is mostly the people who've been bothering us, for sure.
Well, I was very relieved that I did not get a Turd award.
No, never.
That's always a joyous moment. So you've got The Chimney, and you've got your blog, and I want to talk a little bit, very briefly. You and your wife went through something very sad this past year, the loss of your infant son, and yet in the midst of that, you were able to continue a level of joy that was just very inspiring to me. Tell me a little bit about that.
I think, you know, it's just something that could only be understood through a Catholic lens. I think we have this amazing ability. I mean, if you go to any Catholic funeral or like the gathering after the funeral, there's this joy that I think a lot of people would find bizarre. And I think that's just because we get it. And the loss of our son really helped solidify our understanding of heaven and kind of the saving power of baptism and all these things where you can still kind of get these nuggets of joy. And really his birth, I mean, even though it was like a wild emotional ride, it was a really joyous event to be able to see him and hold him. But also it's like we have these 3 other amazing kids who kind of keep things light, and you can't really be depressed all the time when you have 3 kids under 6 who are joking around and goofing off. So
yeah, such a good point. Well, and to me, that just speaks to how authentic you are living your faith, and that you're not afraid to show that there can be joy in the midst of the sadness. And I appreciate that. It certainly inspires me. So what do we need to do to be as hip as we can to draw other people closer to Christ?
You know what I think is engaging in the culture, like I said, like going to farmers markets or being a part of like the local craft brewing scene with like little breweries around your town, and at the same time going to Eucharistic adoration, going to confession all the time, and really speaking about these things, how, you know, your life contains all of this and it's part of why you have joy and why you engage in the culture in the way that you do. I think just being authentic and speaking about it, being willing to speak about it, is a huge difference.
Yeah, just willing to be ourselves. Do you think teenagers, did you think the Catholic faith was cool when you were a teen?
You know, the one thing I thought was cool when I was a teen was that I was a part of something really big and really old. I think all of us have like this longing to be a part of like a really great, big, traditional kind of group. And the Catholic Church is the ultimate example of that. So even as a teenager, even when there was a lot of things about the faith that I was like, well, I'm going to leave that behind because I don't like it when I'm 17, that part of being a piece of something was really special. Like going to college and being able to go to Mass and see, just being in that same place every Sunday really helped me connect. And I think being a part of that big family is something that I could get used to as a teenager, that I hung on to.
And so then as you became an adult, what was the thing that sort of sparked you obviously have a great love for your Catholic faith.
Yeah, oddly enough, it was Humane Vitae. My wife and I got married. We were just kind of doing what everybody else did. We had our first son and realized that we were going to have somebody looking at us, seeing if we were authentic or not. And we knew that that was probably the main difference in what our church taught versus how we were living our life. So we printed Humane Vitae off the internet because we thought we were going to be able to say it was wrong and it was silly. But it was really beautiful and true, and it kind of really sparked. It was like the first domino to fall for everything else that we understood the faith was so true about.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for keeping it real. You inspire so many, and I personally love all that you've got going on, Tommy. Thank you for being with us today.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel. Have a great day.